Hey, Curious here. I want to try to address ElevatorGate and the comments made by Rebecca Watson. If something like that happened, it inspired her to go ahead and take that incident and use it in a way, in a very carefully worded video, to try to raise social awareness through a very, I admit, well-crafted set of statements that equates to actually a morality trap. Various preconditions that they will assume in the next step on every stage to development of the issue. From a bar to an elevator to her conclusion. But yet there's no statement of his reaction, the elevator ride up. We have no clue what the interaction was like. She was uncomfortable. But was it really an uncomfortable situation? Was she professionally uncomfortable? Because apparently it was supposed to be a man from the audience who was there at the night of the drinking. She framed this argument at, oh, I was at 4 o'clock in the morning in a strange and distant land, in a foreign country by myself, alone in an elevator. Let's deconstruct that a little bit, okay? Yes, that could be a very dangerous situation for a woman. And, to a lesser extent, for a man. But what was she doing there? But if my hunch is right, what it was a place where after a meeting, a group of professionals, of intellectuals, were talking shop. Talking shop informally. This is like when co-workers get together after work. There's an element of their work in the scenario. So, it makes me wonder in that sense how any man who might have gotten interested in her would want to further that conversation, but wouldn't want to do it in a setting where it would be inappropriate because it was a formal get-together. It was like a group of co-workers. If you see my point, maybe this is somebody who was wrapped up in the conversation that was just a little wound up and wanted to continue the conversation. Maybe he was a little enthralled. Maybe it was a sexual interest. Human beings between the sexes have all manners of interactions, and as sexual beings, we react to those conditions in many ways. So, while you might not invite another man to your room unless you're so inclined, chances are that intellectual banter with a woman, especially Rebecca Watson, who was the feminist of the group, and of this group that was there at the bar would be the object of attention. You see my point? So, maybe somebody who was very active in the conversation, or maybe it was somebody who wasn't. Maybe it was somebody who was too drunk. Maybe it was somebody who wasn't. Maybe it was somebody who politely asked her to come up, had no intentions of doing anything, but was just interested in talking with her more. Maybe it was more. Obviously, he didn't throw his arm across the panel where the buttons were, dangle his keys in front of her, and say, "Let's go to my room for coffee." It was a polite invitation. But how do we know how much of an invitation it was? Now, she said it made her feel uncomfortable, but she never offered to clarify her reaction. She only gave her statement. Don't do that. No. I don't accept this as a valid statement of an incident, because even if the incident actually happened, I blame her not for being uncomfortable, which she had every right to be. Her body, her choice. But I blame her for capitalizing on it without clarifying. This, I think, she did on purpose. For consciousness raising, for awareness, for her own prestige, and maybe for personal gain, or professional gain at least. No. I think she did this to create a condition where she furthers the aims of feminism within the atheist skeptic community. I think ElevatorGate was purposely engineered, and I think that's what she wanted. That's what I blame her for. Not for being victimized, not for not having a choice, but for not accurately representing a man's choice. If we're going to be talking about free thought, free expression, and getting away from theocratic forms of sexual gender roles, then why can't we also question when it's a man's right to be a man's right? Why does she have a right to just dictate, don't do that, set social policy? Is that liberation for a man? Is that sexual liberation? So let's ask ourselves, what is a man's right? Obviously, we always talk about what's a woman's right. We talk about sexual rights, either not being objectified or the woman having the same rights as a man. I believe women should have a right to be free. I also believe men should have a right to be free. Part of that freedom is the pursuit of happiness. And if you're a heterosexual man, maybe coffee in your room is your happiness. How do you solve the conundrum? Cheers out.